Okay, let's make this quick. Yes, it's been a while. Yes, I am sorry. Yes, I'm sorry that I'm returning with this video. Yes, this is only a review on Season 1. Yes, I have not seen Season 2. Yes, this review was entirely written before Season 2 even came out. So I am sorry that it's late. Okay, goodbye.
Hi everyone, it's Liam, and before we start this review, I have a checklist I have to go through real quick. And I know what you're thinking. Liam, why are you doing a checklist at the beginning of the video? The simple answer to that question is I like forced bits and forced gags that aren't really funny, but I can't get away from them. I have to keep doing them. Here we go! Paramount Plus original review. Check. Made by Nickelodeon. Check. Based on a pre-existing show. Thank goodness, I am scared of Big Nate. Was at the height of its popularity in the 2000s. I mean, sure, I guess, that makes sense. And finally, made for a more mature audience. I mean, sure, Camp Cool does get pretty intense sometimes. So honestly, that makes sense that it's made for adult. Oh. This is an iCarly review, isn't it? iCarly. More like iLiam, am I right? No. Yeah, I already realized that. iCarly is a 2007 sitcom made by my worst nightmare from Nickelodeon. The show is about Carly Shay as herself alongside her best friends blow up in popularity online amongst deals to trials and tribulations of that. Also, I have never seen the show. I was not in the target age demographic for it when it was airing. Even if I was, I still likely wouldn't have watched it, as I had a weird hatred for live action things most of my childhood. So yeah, I wouldn't have watched it. And I still have not. Now, of course, I know a little bit about iCarly from, ironically, the internet. I've seen the memes, I've seen the reviews, I even listened to the theme song way more than I'm willing to admit. iCarly is not completely unknown to me, but I can't say if it's good or bad, because I have never seen the original. Okay, so that's my review. Thanks for watching. Oh wait, this is a review of iCarly 2021, not 2007. Sorry everybody for that bad joke. I know it wasn't good, but hopefully it was mildly entertaining. Anyways, the original iCarly ended in November 2012, on the same day that It's a SpongeBob Christmas aired. I remember, or at least I think I remember watching the premiere of It's a SpongeBob Christmas. That aired on CBS, with the iCarly finale aired on Nickelodeon. So if they just changed the channels around, I likely would have seen the show. Sorry, Nick. Dan Schneider then proceeded to go on to make a quickly cancerous spin-off show. Then he made Henry Danger, which I have seen. And I also kind of hate, similarly to Game Shakers. Before he got Game Shakers cancelled, paid off to leave, and ultimately have all of his properties continue without him. That's absolutely not suspicious at all. Anyways, a few years after Schneider left, a lot was happening in the world of entertainment. A lot of companies are merging and stuff. And they were really interested in making these things called streaming services. This is why we are now in hell, but I'm pretty sure you already know that, so let's just jump straight ahead to what matters. Paramount Plus.
A very basic rebranding of CBS All Access that occurred on March 1st, 2021.
Paramount Plus has content, possibly, but most importantly for this story, Nickelodeon content. I think even Paramount has realized by now that out of everything on the service, Nickelodeon is the strongest offering. The lineup of IPs here are so iconic, so of course Paramount Plus has decided to use them a little bit. And by that, I mean so far they have taken multiple shows that were made initially for Nickelodeon and just threw them on the service acting like they were originals just to put them on TV a few months later. It's not a terrible plan. They got them a new SpongeBob and Rugrats show within a year, but still, these aren't really originals. I mean, hey, there was the Fairly Odd Parents Fairly Oddle. That's an original. It was also a terrible idea, and I really hope it doesn't get picked up for a second season, but hey, it's original. Back to that idea of using pre-existing IPs, I'm sure a Nickelodeon executive was looking back through a list of IPs they have and own, and one day came across the name iCarly, and thought, hey, iCarly, huh, that was fairly popular back in the day, why don't we do something with that show? So, a former Nickelodeon executive, which I will not name here, contacted iCarly star Miranda Cosgrove about the idea of a reboot. Well, I really don't want to read this. Okay, I will. At first, the new iCarly was pitched as another kids show, was Cosgrove's titular character and her older brother Spencer running a hype house of sorts in their Seattle apartment to raise a new generation of influencers, inspired by Carly's original web show. Yes, it is okay to say that sounds awful. The actors all seemingly thought that as well. We had to contact the other actors about a reboot, and of those who agreed to return, they agreed that doing something more adult would be more interesting to them. And so Nickelodeon, who was initially aiming for more of a Raven's Home-like revival, agreed to this more adult take. Which is honestly for the better, because, I mean, did you just hear what was pitched? Did you hear that? So, in December 2020, word got around on the internet that iCarly was picked up for 13 episodes, brand new at Paramount+. Now, as someone who has never seen the original, this interested me for two reasons. Number one, lacking of an actor. Jeanette McCurdy, who played Sam in the original, and I may not know a lot, but I do know a starring listing on Wikipedia likely means you are a main character. Jeanette seemingly suffered from a lot of the same issues other child actors face. You know, trauma, pressure, which is sad, it's unfortunate. In the world of child acting, that either happens or you somehow become a pop star. My main evidence of this is just the show Sam and Cat because, yeah, the door is always open for her to return in the future, but that seems unlikely. And number two, the more adult approach to this. The idea of Nickelodeon somehow taking this kid sitcom and making it appeal to an adult audience sounded interesting. I was used to your Raven's Homes and your cancellations of Lizzie McGuire reboots, so the possibility that, out of all companies, Nickelodeon was the most interested in doing an adult reboot of a kid show was interesting. But that was it. That was all I thought of it. Just, interesting. Anyways, the show actually went on to be made, which shocked me, and premiered, which also shocked me, on June 17th, 2021. When the show premiered, I was busy on a trip, and also doing anything but having a Paramount Plus subscription. Listen, I already paid for a month of Paramount Plus for Camp Cool, so I can make a review, which, don't bother looking for it, doesn't exist yet.
Getting a streaming source for a show I was only mildly interested in is stupid.
Oh, but here's a free trial. And my sister wants to see it. And I'm exhausted at home after this trip. Okay, fine, I'll watch one episode and then I'll be done. I don't know what happened. I blinked, it was August, and I watched an entire season of television. Okay, so the funny thing is, I checked my sister's Paramount Plus subscription. This is a caller right now. And she didn't even finish the first episode. Meanwhile, I made sure every Thursday to tune in weekly. How did this happen? Likely because I don't have friends or nothing better to do. Still confusing though. You know what? I feel like I've had it enough. Review time. Okay, so iCarly is a weird title, right? I mean, it is 100% ripped off of the iPhone, which itself stood for Internet, Individual, Instruct, Inform, and Inspire. So honestly, the first part of that makes sense for the show, but still, why the title? Why is it just an iPhone ripoff? What's up with that, Dan? Okay, so now I'm done with padding. I mean, come on, that kind of not padding. That was tactically reviewing. I was reviewing the title. I think it's kind of weird. So, iCarly 2021 takes place 9 years after the original ended, which would be... wow. The show follows, in a shocking twist, Carly, as she decides to start up her web series iCarly again after going through some hard times, such as a breakup, which honestly makes no sense at all. If you didn't want to break up with anybody, just don't date them at all. With the help of her friends and her family, she strives once again for success on the internet. Every 4 episodes or so, we'll get to that part later. So, who are these wacky characters present in the show? I'll tell you, for fun. First we have Carly, who might be the main character. I'm still trying to figure that part out. She's very headstrong and jumps into a lot of things quickly. And she's also depressed. That's fun. Next we have Freddy, who is definitely Freddy, I'm sure of that. He's constantly looking for success but never gets there. He's 27 and has been through 2 divorces and he is a loser for that. He's depressed a lot of the time, and out of any character on the show, he definitely has the worst life. I kind of feel bad for him. Next is Spencer, and he's amazing. He's a witch artist who got witched by accident. Normally I shouldn't hate. Eat the rich!
but I don't know how to describe what Jerry Trino did with this character. But I really like it. It really works. It really fits him. He feels like an egotistical, overconfident goofball, and I love him for that. Now, continuing with my quiet talking and my description of characters, we have what I'm heavily assuming are new characters of the show, Harpo and Millicent. Harpo as a character is in the exact middle of the depressed tier list of the main characters. Life isn't that good, but it's not that bad either. She's a perfectly fine character who I think turns into a really good character with her chemistry with others comes into play. Also, quick thing, can we not be racist? Could we just not do that? Finally, we have Millicent, who is a child. Her character was first announced. I thought she was gonna really be used as a character who contrasts Carly's point of view, you know? The old internet influencer compared to the new one. They don't really do that, especially since Millicent isn't even that popular online.
Your channel has 2 subscribers. I know, I'm one of them.
She more often serves as a foe towards Freddy, who is her stepdad, but over time, this dynamic almost fully switches to her being overprotective of him. Like because he's depressed. Anyways, fine character. Overall, some of these characters sound a bit basic. It's because they somewhat are, but also because I really don't know how to describe characters. I'm bad at this whole reviewing thing. You're about to see it. This script is messy. I am sorry. Anyways, yeah, the show is really built off of these character interactions working. How Spencer bounces off of Carly versus how Spencer bounces off of Harpo. It's basic TV stuff. I think you can see it in every single show. I haven't seen every single show, but this is a safe bet. Overall, I think most of the characters are well defined enough to have these nice dynamics, with some exceptions. Like, how does Harpo think of Freddy? I don't know. I don't think it ever says, but it mostly works, which is good, because the plots of episodes... So, going into episode 1, I thought iCarly was about the life of an internet influencer and her wacky friends, and I certainly got the part about it being her life correct. The show's first big issue, in my opinion, is that it really isn't about iCarly in some episodes. I don't know how this was approached in the original, but I presumed with the concept of the show being, well, the concept of the show, the plots would mostly involve Carly putting on some sort of internet show, and how that affects her normal life. And well, it sort of is. I think episode 2 is a perfect, adequate example of what I thought the show would be like. Carly is dealing with a hater online, which she should have to deal with all the time as she's famous, but besides that, she decides to deal with this hater by meeting up with some in real life and working through their issues. But instead there, she meets someone who has never seen a web show. Due to this being a change of pace, she decides to go on a date with this person, but in a very obvious twist, this person is the hater. Uh-oh. This episode isn't perfect, but it's a plot that is more directly related to the show's setup. Most of the time, the setup is more similar to the 6th episode of the season, I'm Cursed. Where in the first few seconds of the episode, Carly receives a birthday gift from a fan, which she instantly throws away. This is the only mention of the web show in the entire episode. Also, why do her fans know her address? That's a bit concerning. I feel like you should look into that, Carly. Yeah, it's weird. Honestly, I don't mind the show doing episodes without the web series involved. The characters are charming enough that it can work, but when it does it for episodes upon episodes at a time, it just feels weird. It makes the sitcom feel less special because what is the gimmick? What makes it unique? Besides the characters and the setup that they don't use. Also, real quick question, how popular is iCarly? Not like the Nickelodeon show, but like the actual web show. A few times they throw in a plot like Carly having to go down a red carpet or receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. But why? What does she even do in the show that's so popular? I mean, I guess we're supposed to watch the original to see that, but I don't want to. And also, shouldn't you show why she's so popular nowadays? They barely show the show at all! Another issue with the writing of this show is the episode's endings. There are multiple episodes this season that just end with no resolution to the plot. But the worst of which definitely has to be I'm Cursed, which is definitely just the worst of the season in general, like in every way. They have 3 plots going on at the same time this episode, and none of them gets resolved. Carly has a birthday curse apparently that leads to bad things happening, so when Spencer throws a b-day party for her, a man dies. The episode ends with Carly figuring this out, no aftermath or anything, and Freddy being seriously injured.
Roll them credits!
Honestly, this episode is the worst of the season. I just said that, but I'm going to say it again because it is the worst of the season. Another issue with this show, at least for somebody like me, is that it's kind of confusing. Not really open to new views. It is really made for fans of the original. So here's a list of moments I was confused with throughout season 1. And I hate Carly. A character by the name of Noah keeps showing up. Apparently Noah at one point kidnapped Carly, which I would be more shocked about if that being in a kid's show if I didn't watch Henry Danger for a few years when I was younger. She really shows as just a recording joke in the episode, and I can't tell if she's supposed to be insane or not. I mean, I guess so. She breaks into Carly's apartment at the end, but they really never have any resolution to that. So, have fun. In iRobot Wedding, Carly goes to the wedding of nemesis Neville Paperman. Now, quick question, what did he do? Did he just, as iCarly Wiki says, meet Carly, try to kiss her, and stuff Freddy in a robot costume at the party? Or is it something more? Why don't I look this up if I'm already on the wiki, because that ruins the point of the video, dang it! In I'm Cursed, why is Carly cursed on her birthday? I assume there isn't a reason, it's just one of those things they made up for fun, and there's no actual reason as to why. But I still wonder why. Apparently Freddy got most of his divorce papers on different birthdays of Carly's. Shouldn't he be the more cursed one of the group? Also, why does Carly's principal know her address? Why do her fans know her address? Why does this episode end right after Carly finds out somebody just died? Why does anything happen in this episode? Why does this episode exist? I do not like this episode. In I Need Space, is
Toji?
from the original or not? She's supposedly Carly's friend, but have they actually met in an episode before this? Does this character even exist? Why doesn't she show up later? I don't know. In IMLM, who is Griffin? There's actually more to this line that I could explain why I'm confused by, but I think it's more funny just to end it there. Is Brooke from I Take a Girls Trip an established character from before or not? If so, all her actions in this episode fitting with her character. Because that is a very weird character. In I Throw a Flawless Dinner Party, all spaghetti. Nah, I'm joking, I already know that one. But in I Return to Webicon, when was the last time they've been to Webicon? How did that go? Was there a gay kiss in that episode as well? I promise this is an important question. Okay, but actually please do not answer any of these questions. I might want to do Season 2 blind as well, and I can't do that if I know the answers to these questions. So don't answer these questions. You better not. Yeah, so about that gay kiss I mentioned. Kind of unexpected, huh? Not in the way of, like, I wasn't expecting this kind of representation, more in the way of I wasn't expecting them to do it with these characters. This is Hopper kissing Dutch. Dutch is a famous singer who Hopper was hired to be a fashion designer for. Dutch is a weird character. I mean that because she's kind of annoying and I don't like her. But in I Return to Webicon, she tags along with the gang to perform at the event, which means she must have a really bad manager because the event is a scam. Anyways, throughout the events of this episode, Hopper realizes that she has feelings, but Dutch has these feelings as well, leading to a kiss. Honestly, I needed more development for this moment to work. This all happened within 3 episodes, so while it was cool to see, I just don't think Dutch as a character really works that well for Hopper. I just don't ship it. Hopefully Season 2 fixes that, but I also don't have Paramount Plus anymore, so I'll never know. Actually, relationships play a lot into the plot here. The whole show starts off because Carly has a publicly live-streamed breakup, which could have easily been avoided, but you know, comedy, am I right? Then throughout the rest of the season, Carly and basically every other main character except the child is constantly trying to get into a relationship, and it never happens for any of them. Carly goes on 2 bad dates, we'll get back to this, and then she meets the repair guy that I can't remember the name of. They have 2 episodes of the show dedicated to making their relationship happen, and then they end up practically breaking it up the next episode after he's a little rude. In the same episode, the first boyfriend shows up, and they try to get back together with Carly. But I don't mean all 3 of them at the same time in one relationship, because that would be we'll get back to this. And in the scene before, you can clearly see Freddy starts to open his mouth, clearly wanting to say something before the helicopter shows up to save them from the middle of the woods. This is a very small detail that I am sure I am the first to report on. Will Freddy happen in Season 2?
No, because I am sure they're going to stretch this plotline out like every show would do. But when the revival finally ends, I am sure this is the relationship that they will go with. Partly because they're already advertising it in promotion for season 2. So it is probably going to happen. But still. I just really hope that before they make this relationship official though, they give more scenes just between Carly and Freddy for this to really be justified for me. In other relationship-based plotlines, Spencer gets together with Harper's cousin Maeve for 3 episodes at the end of the season. Exactly the same thing they did with Carly. Yes, so apparently Harper's family was once rich, but once they lost all the money, Maeve went missing. She actually faked her kidnapping, and for 3 episodes of Stardom, focused on her returning, getting together with Spencer, who revealing her fake kidnapping, and then breaking up with Spencer. Honestly, I'm impressed the show kept up with it that long, as so many plots here just start and finish within the same episode, such as in the episode I Love Gwen,
where Millicent's muzzle, a marine biologist, shows up and then disappears the next episode. No, of course it's never explained why.
And that's really all the overarching stories present in the show. I guess you could count Freddy trying to start up a company as a plotline, but every time it's brought up, it's something different, so it barely counts. Okay, let's get to the elephant in the room.
I got a penis parasite.
Honestly, I prefer not to talk about this stuff, especially because I know my younger siblings could be watching this and I don't want to mention this kind of stuff, but I have to because that's part of the show and I want to be an efficient reviewer. I will do a pretty censored version, don't worry. Anyways, did you notice the new microphone? Does it sound good? I don't know. I'm still working out the kinks, you know? So iCarly 2021 is rated TV PG, meaning that parental guidance is merely suggested. But in the world of TV, and a lot of movies as well, PG is just a rating for kids. When I say this, I'm mainly thinking of in the context of a lot of Cartoon Network shows, like Adventure Time or Steven Universe, for example. These are PG, which is the same rating as this supposed adult iCarly show. Of course, unlike movies, these ratings are assigned by the people distributing the show, so maybe if this aired on a Warner network, it would be a TV-14, but PG is fine for this show. In most episodes, the most adult thing about the show is the way the characters talk. Kids sitcoms like typically noticed go for the more outlandish, cartoony, screaming kind of jokes. Well, in here, a lot of the jokes are delivered more subtly. Now, of course, they could have thrown these kind of jokes in, but I feel like for the kind of stories they're telling, it wouldn't really make much sense. Of course, the show still does occasionally use adult language, most commonly the B word, but that's okay because it feels very shocking every time they use it. Like, wow, an adult word in an adult show for adults? Crazy! Which I feel like is an issue. And of course, out of every single plotlines here really wouldn't appeal to kids. A lot of them are about the dating lives of these characters, and they're just sad and depressing all the time, and I feel like it wouldn't really work for kids, even if they changed the jokey attitude to be more comedic and upbeat and cartoonish and can't say words. But of course, there's certain plot lines in here that do take advantage of the adult rating. For example, the entirety of I Take a Girls Trip's main plot. I have no idea how this episode, out of all the ones, they just got away with all the adult jokes in, but it was interesting to watch. And uncomfortable in a weird way. Like, why was Freddy interested? The issue is the way the show handles these plots though, is every time they come up, everybody's always says, I can't believe iCarly would do that. The show is meant for adults. It's supposed to do more adult things like this, but they don't do enough of these moments to make them fit in. The show is considered by Paramount Plus itself to be a family show, so it seems maybe there is hesitation from the company themselves to go all the way, or I'm looking too far into this. Either or is a possibility. Okay, so as for music, I guess? Yeah, it's a sitcom, it doesn't really have a soundtrack besides ha ha ha, but it does have an intro and an outro. The intro is from the original, absolutely no changes at all besides it being shortened in all but 2 episodes, which makes no sense as it's on streaming. It doesn't mean to be shortened, but I'm complaining to nobody who will listen, but who cares. Also, if I was this review only halfway through the season, I would complain about how the intro was mixed weirdly. I couldn't hear the vocals that well, which I fully thought was because of Drake Bell being in it, and yeah, but actually this was just the setting of my audio on my TV. So cool. It still sounds great and is a bop. Gosh darn it, Drake Bell. And for the credits. Oh, hell yeah. And also it's just a slight remix cover thing of the original, but it sounds great. It's the best part of every episode. It is a jam, it's a bop, it's certified fresh, according to me. It's amazing, amazing, amazing credits. Okay, I think it's time to wrap it up and give my general consensus on the series. I could cover individual episodes, but my thoughts would come down to birthday episode bad, following episode good. Anyways, my overall thoughts are iCarly 2021. It's fine. It's a fine show. The cast is charming. The show itself is charming at points. It can have occasional funny jokes, but honestly, if you were to watch it, it's better for fans of the original. It's like seeing Spider-Man No Way Home without seeing any of the previous Spider-Man movies. Sure, the function is still there. It works well enough. But man, the knowledge of the others make it so much more satisfying to watch. Or I assume so, because I've never seen the others. Not the Spider-Man movies, the iCarly. This show has a lot of issues, a lot of unsatisfying plots and endings for certain episodes. The show always sways away from the main premise of it, and overall, I'm still not a big fan of laugh track sitcoms in general, but I did stick with it fairly well. I watched every episode of the season. I enjoyed most of it. Is it my favorite show ever? Definitely not, but I respect what it tried to do and what it did pretty well. I think the show deserves credit for not only being a laugh track sitcom in 2021, but actually getting me invested in these characters without me seeing the original. Even if the show is just fine, it's impressive because of that. A lot of the issues I had with this season could just be the whole new show syndrome thing, which would make sense because it's the full season of continuation, where seemingly none of the original writers returned. Likely for the better. Anyways, play me a catchy theme song. Also, since the video is ending and I can admit this, I watched one episode of the original. I am not lying, I watched the very first one, but I stopped after that. This is technically not seeing the original still. Okay, goodbye.